This video is brought to you by my own colorful wallpaper pack. A pack of 10 beautiful wallpapers in 6K to take your setup to the next level. This is the Sony Xperia Pro-I, and just like other Sony smartphones, it's special in so many ways that you don't normally see on other phones. But does these unique features like a 4K screen, a 1-inch sensor, just to mention a few, actually make a difference? Well, I've used this phone for quite a while now and I got my own opinions about it, so stay tuned. Hit that like button. This is Philip and let's jump right in. Now, this is not an extensive review of the Sony Xperia Pro-I by any means, but more of an impressions video because 1, I've only had it for a few days, and 2, you can already find a ton of reviews on this bad boy on YouTube since it launched about 8 months ago. But if you wanna see what the Sony Xperia Pro-I actually feels like to use as a normal phone rather than a camera-centric phone, then stay tuned. Just to put the specs away, this phone rocks a Snapdragon 888 processor, 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of onboard storage that can also be expanded up to a terabyte via microSD card, a 6.5-inch true 4K 21:9 display, but there's a catch to it that we'll get to in a second. On the battery side, it rocks a 4500 mAh battery and a triple camera setup on the back. These are really good specs for a phone, and it has to be. Keep in mind, this phone launched for a price tag of $1799, but right now it's on sale for $200 less, which is still a lot of money for a phone. Kicking off with the design, this phone is gorgeous. The back has a matte finish, so no worries about getting your fingerprints all over your phone. And talking of fingerprints, the power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner that is super fast and always reliable every time I've used it. The sides are made of this rugged-like metal frame texture with ridges to it that at first feels odd compared to other modern phones, but on the other side it makes the phone a lot more grippier to hold. There's also a headphone jack on top, something gamers and audiophiles will really appreciate. But one weird thing about this phone's design is that there's no wireless charging of any sort on this phone, even though there's a glass back. Other than that though, this phone feels great in the hands thanks to a narrower form factor. It also looks good in this black color, which is the only color that it comes in. And before I forget, this phone is IP65 and 68 rated against dust and water. This phone's display is so sharp at a pixel density of 643, but at a classic Sony aspect ratio that if you're a movie guy, you'll really appreciate the cinematic display. It's beautiful, colors are represented true to life with the creator mode enabled, but when it's not in its full potential, it scales down from 4K to a 1096 by 2560 resolution unless you're watching a 4K content, and this is where the catch comes in. I mean, this is fine for battery management, but if I'm paying this much for a phone, I wouldn't want to cut on the display even though there's no much difference unless you are a pixel peeper. On the brighter side, the display stretches to the edges, although you will see some bezels on the top and the chin, which is fine because that means you don't get a notch of any kind here. The center of the show has to be the camera module that houses 3 lenses at the back of this phone. Inside here, there's a 16mm ultra-wide lens, a 50mm equivalent lens, and a glorious 1-inch 24mm sensor, and all these produce 12 megapixel images. Pictures coming out of this phone are fantastic. Colors come out close to real life and not much processing goes into them that I prefer. Dynamic range is also great on all the lenses. Here are some samples and I'll let you be the judge, but overall this is a solid camera system, and using this as your main camera on vacation or just casually taking pictures of your pets will still be a great idea. Now that 1-inch sensor, which is the highlight of this phone, produces pictures with sharper details and a lot of background black compared to my Google Pixel 6 Pro that also has a great camera system. My cast goes into detail about the sensors and other features of this phone's camera, so I'll leave a link to that if you haven't checked it out already. Flipping the phone to the right, you'll see that Sony includes a physical camera button, which with a half press acts as a focus button and takes the shot with a full down press, just like you would with any other Sony camera. Hopping onto the camera app, and if you've used a Sony camera before, you'll see a lot of similarities here. From the tap to focus with real-time tracking capabilities to the mode selector and more. One feature that caught my eye is the ability to switch the aperture between f2 and f4 depending on environment, So if you want more bokeh or if you're in a darker environment, f2 will be the best aperture to use because of how much light it lets in. The Sony Xperia Pro-I first came with Android 11 out of the box, but currently it's been updated to Android 12 and Sony goes with a stock Android feel close to what you will find on a Google Pixel that I've always preferred. There's no much tweaking, no unnecessary features or bloatware, just a clean Android experience. Of course, Sony includes some unique features to kinda make your life easier, like Side Sense feature that opens up a floating window on the top right corner with shortcuts and apps for easy accessibility, keeping in mind this is a tall phone and reaching on the top part of the display is a hassle to begin with. To launch this, double tap on the top right corner of the screen and there you have it. You can also easily toggle the split screen option if you want to use 2 apps at the same time. With 12 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 888 processor and fast storage, this phone flies. Matter of fact, the first time I picked it up and actually started using it alongside my Google Pixel 6 Pro, the display felt really smooth. Scrolling feels buttery smooth, and this might be because of the 120Hz panel that Sony uses, but also the touch responsiveness is high on this display at 240Hz. Launching apps, switching between them, and even playing graphic-intensive games doesn't seem to slow this phone down, and that's what you would actually look for because of what you're paying here. So with all these great and unique features of the Sony Xperia Pro-I, who is it for and should you get one? Well, if you're Sony diehard or if you like tech, this phone will fulfill your needs. It has an excellent 4K display, a great camera system, performance is great, but for that price tag, I'd personally grab a Google Pixel 6 Pro or a Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus or even an iPhone 13 Pro and keep some change. But you let me know what you think. Would you go for the Sony Xperia Pro-I or another phone? Leave a comment down below and let's have a chat. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think, and if you're into this kind of videos, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos when they go live. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and until next time guys, goodbye and most of all, stay safe.